I'd like to call the December meeting in the Historic Preservation Commission to order. Paula, would you call the roll?
Alan Brown.
Present.
Neela Crank-Clements. Taylor Fudge.
Present.
Mary Jo Meacham.
Present.
Klaus Raman Phillip.
Present.
Linda Schultz. Ann Zacharitz.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to go over the process for the meeting. It's on the back of the cover page of your agenda. The chairman will announce each case and ask interested parties to indicate their presence by raising their hand. Commissioners will discuss details of the case, calling on staff for details. Following this discussion, commissioners may choose to ask questions of all parties present. Interested persons may speak to support or protest the application. The applicant will be entitled to one brief rebuttal. Interaction between applicant and protestants on the floor is not permitted. Persons speaking are asked to approach the center podium one at a time to introduce themselves by name and address, and please sign in too, and to present their position as succinctly as possible. The Commission asks each speaker to limit his or her remarks to no more than 5 minutes. Following the public hearing on an application, the Commission will take one of the following actions. 1, approve the certificate of appropriateness. 2, continue the proposal. 3, deny the proposal with prejudice, which means the application may not be resubmitted for at least 1 year unless the Commission determines that circumstances have changed. Or 4, deny the proposal without prejudice, which means the applicant may reapply at any time. When an application has been approved and after a 10-day protest period has expired, the Historic Preservation Officer will mail the CA to the applicant. City construction permits cannot be issued until a CA has been issued. Contact HP staff for final design review inspection or to withdraw items that will not be completed. Finally, any person aggrieved by any decision granting or denying a CA may appeal to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment. All appeals shall be made within 10 days of the Commission decision by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the BOA. For more information about the BOA, there's their phone number. All right, let's go on to the Office of the Historic Preservation Officer. Katie?
Nothing to report.
Okay, that was easy. The minutes. Anybody have any comments, corrections, or motion for approval on the minutes? I'm sure you've all read them closely.
I'll make a motion to approve the November minutes.
Okay. It's been moved by Klaus Raman Phillip and seconded by Taylor Fudge. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. On to the code enforcement report. Anything on that, Katie? Or is anybody from the city here?
I don't believe we have anyone here today. As always, I'll just summarize that this is providing you with anything that's been written up with a notice of violation or an actual citation in the HP districts. You can follow up with those complaint numbers, or if there's a citation number listed in the far column with either the Action Center or with code enforcement or with HP staff if you have questions about any of those. I know we have had some staff turnover in code enforcement recently. One of the inspectors that had been working with HP for a long time has been promoted. So I would encourage folks, if you are reporting something, to maybe copy Angela and I on it as well, or give us a call, so we make sure that as staff is shifting around, everything's getting caught through the process.
Very good. All right, then continuance announcements and requests. Looks like none. Public hearings, no dilapidated structures. We have a National Register nomination. Katie?
NRHP 19-7 at 2400 South Harvey Avenue, CCBD UD Ward 4, application by Sarah Wernicke, Oklahoma State Historic Preservation Office for Mason Realty Investors, LLC, to consider a resolution regarding a proposed National Register nomination for the Capitol Hill General Hospital. This is a property just outside of the new Capitol Hill National Register District and within the Capitol Hill Urban Design District. This is being nominated in anticipation of using historic tax credits for the rehabilitation of the structure, and it is significant for history as well as for architecture as an example of Art Deco architecture applied to an institutional building. Historically, it was developed at kind of a key transitional time for medical facilities as people were starting to use hospitals and medical institutions instead of the doctor that comes to your house. And then obviously kind of gave way to much larger hospitals like we see all over the city today. But we have Sarah Warnke here from the State Historic Preservation Office and some representatives of the ownership of the property as well, if anyone has questions.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you say this is outside the National Register District?
Yes.
Right. If it was inside, you wouldn't have to do this.
Correct.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead. Any questions,
questions?
sir, or you would like to
Comments?
make a comment? It's a great little building.
I was going to say, I remember kind of wandering around Capitol Hill and stumbling on this building, and it is a really, really great building. You don't see this kind of detailing anymore, bricks, and just a really neat building. So I'm happy to see that it's being rehabilitated.
Okay. Looks like a slam dunk. More comments?
I would recommend the nomination for the Capitol Hill General Hospital to the Mayor and City Council and so forth, as stated in the staff report.
Okay, if there's a motion, I hear a second? I'll second. Okay, it's been moved by Joe Meacham and seconded by Linda Schultz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's approved.
Thank you
or
so much.
Recommended. Thank you. And thanks, Steve. Appreciate you doing that. Continuing. Next is consent docket. Yeah, consent docket. Anybody like to consider any of these separately or approve the whole bunch of them?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent docket.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Klaus Roman Phillips and seconded by Joe Meacham. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Consent docket is approved. That was a big group. On to individual cases.
So if you were on that consent docket, agenda item C, 1 through 4, then your item has been approved and you're free to go. You'll get your certificate of appropriateness in the mail and contact staff if you have any other questions. But otherwise, those items are approved.
You're welcome to stick around if you'd like to, but probably not.
Okay, on to D1, Hpca 19-35R1, which is revision 1 at 228 Northwest 32nd Street, Edgemere Park, Ward 2. Consideration of possible action on application by Sam Gresham Architects for Debbie McGill for a revision to the certificate of appropriateness to 1 replace windows, elective. And I'll kind of summarize why this is back. The commission approved this with a couple of different sets of possible window replacement specs in the documentation, and it was approved with the condition that those be kind of finalized with a final set of documents confirmed. And when we worked with the applicant on getting that all pinned down, there were several things that were not going to be able to actually replicate the historic windows, and that includes mutton wits, and it also includes 1 diamond pane window that, if they go to thermal pane, can't match the historic window. So because several of those things were not replicating as closely as we hoped they'd be able to, we brought it back for revision.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Holly Hunt, 400 Northwest 23rd Street. It's really close. So, yeah, I mean, again, we brought this back because it isn't an identical match, but, folks, this is very, very, very little of a difference. We're talking about it's about 5/8 to an inch and an eighth. So, we're talking about a very little distinguishable difference. In fact, I tried to draw some comparisons of these windows, and they were so close, I just kind of felt, this is the window. If you'll stay on that one, pretty please, Paula. This one is the one that is so difficult to match, and it's due to just the nature of these panes, their size. In order to do a thermal insulated glass door or glass pane, this is just, basically we match the diamond detailing, it's just fewer panes. So in your staff report, there's a diagram showing that window, how those buttons would appear. And, I felt like, again, the idea here, if we're going to replace windows for another 100 years to last, these thermal pane windows in a solid wood, they're going to be absolutely fantastic. They're going to function very well for years to come. And so to me, even though it's not an identical match, it is a better option as a way to replace what was a high-quality construction window with the highest quality construction window that they make today for the next 100 years. It's worth a slight change in the design. Rather than the alternative, of course, would be to put a storm window over a single pane window, and then to me that's a not as high quality look as what you can achieve with these thermal pane windows while also being energy efficient and modern. And again, I just want to reiterate how very minimal of a difference. We're talking less than 3/8 of an inch on each side that's a little wider.
Could you kind of refresh my memory on what we approved last time?
So we were approved to just, you were asking her, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well,
Well, I was going to say we were approved to replace the windows.
Yeah, it was approved to replace the windows with insulated glass windows is what had been specified.
Correct.
With the understanding that they were going to be able to replicate the historic windows.
So
when we got the Marvin specs, the insulated glass window from Marvin is a 1 11/16 inch muntin, which when you compare it to a 7/8 or 7/8 inch muntin,
Oh, 7. I said
is a not a huge difference, but it's not an insignificant difference either. And then we were also specifically concerned about the change to the configuration of the diamond pane window, that was not a match for what was there. Staff felt like there were some alternative options available, including, as Holly mentioned, a storm window, an energy panel, which is actually included in the Marvin specs for a single pane window, or just a plain old single pane window.
And that
to
energy
replicate
pane
that.
is essentially it's a storm window.
It's an interior.
It's a yeah.
Yeah.
Again, this is at a shower location, so for my homeowners, it's really not ideal. But yeah, those are our options. I just want to reiterate, to me, it makes the most sense to put in just the best quality window into this house. And that's why.
I understand that, Holly, but that's not our, although we want work to be quality,
Certainly.
we're really discussing the design. And it seems like if this one window is the issue, then I would be more in favor of doing some type of interior or exterior storm and keeping this window. And then the mutton issue, I think, is, I appreciate staff bringing that back, but I would say that one's close. Unless, is it common that people bring back energy efficient windows where the muttons are identical to the historic windows?
No, they're never identical. We just know that for the muntins to support 2 panes of glass instead of 1 pane of glass, they have to get thicker. So we kind of always know that when we see a 6/6 window or something get replaced with insulated glass, that those muntins are going to be chunkier than the historic muntins. And it's something that the commission kind of weighs. And I think sometimes when it's a 6/6 or when it's a vertical divided window, where the proportions of the window panes can kind of stay the same, we've allowed for that the overall shape of the panes of glass is going to stay the same. The diamond pane in particular, I think, because they can't get the same number of panes in the window. That was really the biggest concern.
If I may also, we would be able to match it identically if we weren't doing the true divided light. But again, as part of a condition of our approval, they must be true divided light, not simulated divided light. I just want to make that distinction.
Right. To me, when you have a home, maybe not today, maybe in 10 years or 25 years, when you can come into a house and you point to that and you say, hey, and we do have one original window left. To me, there's something about that respects the whole idea of what we're doing versus just saying, well, and we replaced them all, and they're pretty close. I mean, I understand the other ones, but when we just have this one, I would be...
I think we'd be amenable to understanding that this window is special and that it has a special condition here, and we need to go ahead and match this. And I think as long as we can get the thermal paint throughout the house, it will achieve what the homeowners want for efficiency.
That's not that big window. Would you do the energy, what's it called? Energy panel too?
Well, I think that what we'll do is kick it back to and see if we should, which is best, to do a storm window on the exterior or to do the energy panel on the interior. It'd probably have to be okay through the owner. I mean,
Or none at all. If it's just one window, so.
right. And so I think that we're happy with that approval for the larger muntins on all the other windows that, again, will match the same proportions and shape, and then this one we can figure out another way to maintain the panes.
Okay.
A storm window is something that we could do as an administrative approval, and we could add that on to this application.
Perfect.
I think technically an interior storm doesn't require review because it's on the inside of the house. And I would say if it's integrated into the window
frame?
structure itself, we probably want that documented. But I think either one of those is something that can be worked out with staff.
Perfect. Thank you, Katie.
Okay. Sounds like we're all in agreement. Is there more questions or motion?
I would make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00035. Let's see, item 2 with the exception of the diamond pane window. Are there any conditions?
So I guess it would be approved with the condition that the diamond pane window be a single glaze
Okay.
replacement.
With,
Is that-
With the condition that, so for staff, and staff can approve, a single pane, what are you saying? I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, single glaze.
Single glazed.
Replacement window.
Replacement.
with muntins that match the original or the existing.
There will be
something
no
like that.
muntins on the diamond window.
Well, they're still muntins to me. You talking about the diagonals? Yeah.
Diamonds. It'll just be a clear glass.
No, I think what we would achieve then is to replace this window with a single glaze so that the muntins don't have to be thick, because it's the true divided light
They'll
on a
be narrow.
double that makes it thicker.
It'll look
So we
just
can
like
still
that.
match this window, we'll just have to add another piece of glass for that.
Oh, okay, I see.
You know what I mean? And
that
we,
right?
so,
I got
sorry.
misunderstood.
Yeah, I did. I thought we were leaving the historic window.
Oh, okay, that's another thought.
That's kind of the impression I had, but
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
just leave that one original window how it is, and
Yeah.
if you need to add,
That was my suggestion. you
Here,
know.
the window is rotted. Again, it's already been approved for replacement, so that's not what we're discussing. I think in the new window, though, what we could do is do a single pane window here in order to maintain the 7/8 muntin that would match the profile exactly.
So you want to replace the,
So this one, we're not, basically not able to do the thermal glazing because we have to keep the thin muntins. But we can match the same exact window in a replacement. And then we'll just add a storm window to make it double pane.
That was my understanding of what.
It was not my understanding. I mean, all
We're not
four
in
of us are of another
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, all the windows get replaced. That's already been approved. We have
I understand
a
that,
for that.
but
And then,
What I was requesting was, for you to consider, was to repair the existing window, if that's what it needs, and add a single pane that would be used as a storm window, either on the inside or the outside. That was what I was proposing.
no, the window's already been approved to be replaced because it's beyond being able to be salvaged.
We're just discussing this
There's-
one window, how we're going to do that.
Yeah, I know, and it also has exceeded the 50% depletion that the guidelines state for replacement.
So the original
So it
approval
will be
was
a
for-
new window.
The original approval was for replace all the windows.
Correct.
So
That's
now-
correct.
Well,
It's more just, you basically are approving a slightly wider muntins on all the other windows, and
the
I
reason why
am
it's being brought
agreeing
back
to do a
is
small.
because replacing it with double glazing makes the muntins on this diamond shape too fat. So either we change it so they preserve the existing window and restore it, or we approve replacing it with narrower muntins in a single glaze system. So
and I think the diamond
choices.
pattern changed a little bit
Yes.
with the new.
no,
In
it'd be
order to
exactly the
match.
same with the new, couldn't it?
Oh, if you do the single pane.
If you replace it with single pane
Yes, then we can
glazing
match
and
it.
narrow muntins, you could match exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's my compromise, I
I should
guess.
say, that's actually what was already approved. So really, the thing that we need to,
Oh,
I guess, I mean, what was approved
We're
was to
figuring
replace
it
the
all out.
windows, replicating the historic window. So that
that's-
window, what we're talking about doing, would meet
Is
the original
already-
CA.
Gotcha.
I think it's the rest of the windows going to the thermal pane.
Correct.
Wider mutton that really needs the revision. So
Oh,
That's
no.
correct.
could say
Thank you.
the revision is approved, except in the case of the diamond pane window, which should meet the requirements of the original CA.
Agreed. Yes.
Does that make sense?
Which will require a single glazed
Yeah.
window,
Which
yeah.
would require it
Okay.
to be replicated.
Okay. Joe? You
I
started
already made
some.
my motion.
You did?
It was different, so somebody else will have to make a different motion.
Okay. What was your motion again?
I was under the impression that we could keep that window, so somebody, I'm just saying, I'm not going to make another motion. That was not my motion. Somebody else can make the motion to
So would you
approve.
like to withdraw it, or is there a second?
I'll
for-
withdraw my motion.
Okay. Is there another motion?
I'll make another one because, I mean, we approved it that way, so if they're complying with the original CA with the single glazing and the narrower lines, I think that makes sense. So I'll make a motion to approve HPCA 190035,
R1?
let's see, yeah, R1, to allow for the wider buttons on the windows as a whole, and then to comply with the original CA on the diamond window.
Okay, is that,
Is that a condition, I guess?
I mean, I guess, is it really a condition because she's still required to comply with the original CA?
It's
so-
just to.
Or condition to
exempt that
comply
one.
with the
Condition
original?
that the diamond pane window comply with the original CA.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Comply
Okay.
with the original CA.
is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Klaus Ryman Phillips, seconded by Ann Zakritz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, been approved. Phew. Figured that one out. All right, next. 2.
HPCA 19-135 at 1420 Northwest 37th Street, Putnam Heights, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application by Christopher Cowden, Oakmark Realty, Inc., for Edward Sahib, Oakmark Realty, Inc., for certificate of appropriateness to 1 construct garage, elective.
Okay, applicant is present. New garage. What's the background on this one, Katie?
So the
Before us.
commission saw this application previously and approved some other items, but continued the application to construct a garage. A CA was issued for the construction of a garage at this property years ago, but
Oh, yeah.
had long since
Yeah.
expired. The applicant initially proposed that same design, but as guidelines have evolved over the years, that was continued, and the commission asked them to come back with something a little bit more modest. You actually have an option 1 and an option 2 for the garage. It's on pages 6 and 7 of 12 of your staff report attachments, and the main difference is that the pedestrian door moves from the front of the garage to the side of the garage as you're looking at those.
Which one does the applicant prefer?
The office approved both of them, so they were both not approved, but rather suggested both would be appropriate. However, the reason we provided 2 options is the second option is more correct to the original garage. Option 1, however, better fits the current foundation. So 2004, that certificate of appropriateness was given to build the new garage. The current owner demolished the garage, demolished the foundation. Under that CA, poured a new foundation, which is larger than the previous garage. The new foundation was designed, the stem wall was poured to have a door front-facing as
Is that your
option.
preference? That's what I'm asking.
Option, excuse me?
I'm just asking your preference,
Beg your pardon, my preference is 1.
which is
that
the
way,
front-facing door.
It'll match the current stem wall, which was poured under the original CA. Unfortunately, the garage was never built.
And
What's the size of these 2 garages, Katie? I can't, they're so small I can't read the... Poor Angela.
20,
Looks like we're about 25 foot wide.
Well, I mean, square footage.
Square footage-wise, I think it was 750 per the report, which is a little over
Little, yeah.
what would be allowed. However, again,
450
it's larger because that CA from 2004 allowed for that,
Yeah,
which
allowed.
they repoured the foundation to accommodate the new garage.
So option 2 is 750, option 1 is,
They are the same.
what?
They are the
They're
same.
both the same?
It
Okay.
just, the option 2 moves the door to the east side of the garage where it would have
Oh, okay,
been
okay.
originally,
Just looks-
but it would
looks
not
wider.
match the current stem wall.
They both fit the current stem wall?
Correct.
Okay.
Katie, could you discuss why you're not approving the door? I'm not really sure. It's hard to tell on the paperwork what design was selected.
So, well, first, so 5% of the lot is 720 square feet, so that's why we didn't
Sure.
oppose too much the proposed size of the garage, because the guidelines allow for a garage that's 5% of the lot. Let's see.
Right, okay.
Is it just kind of a high-style garage door, just a little too ornate for the neighborhood? Is that?
I think we just didn't have specifications for the garage door itself. Angela, I'm going to defer to you if you remember what the issue was with the garage door. Sorry. Yeah, we typically don't see carriage-style doors on most of our garages, and we do know what the historic garage, or no, I think on this one we don't know exactly what the historic garage
And
looks
quite
like,
honestly, when
but-
we added that design with the lights in the door, I think that's probably a misrecollection on my part, that the original had lights. We can delete those. That's not a problem. Just go to a solid panel door. Certainly, that's all easily adjusted.
Yeah, so when you look on the slides, the previous garage had just the stile and rail paneled door and not the kind of carriage-style door that's shown in the attachments. So I think that was the main concern, was just to go with a more modest style garage door for that style of garage.
There's a variety of garage door styles in this area. I do not know the materials of this garage door. I don't know the materials of the components of the garage door. I have very little information on that, if it's metal or if there are plastic elements and that sort of thing. I need solid documentation of material,
Okay.
regardless of what door design.
And we'll provide that, but they will be solid wood. I am amenable to whatever.
So his idea here is to approve the overall, you recommend approval, overall option 1 or 2, with the condition they submit more detail on the door.
Yes, a
Garage
revised door
doors.
design to staff.
Yeah. And there's nothing on the other door, the side door either.
The side door is also
there it
solid
is.
wood.
There it is, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the rest of the house is, we want it to match.
Okay. Okay. Option-wise, I kind of like 2 better, but not going to be picky about that. I think we usually prefer the single doors rather than the wide double width. I prefer option 2 because it has 2 single doors rather than 1 wide door. So,
The
I think
overhead
option 1
doors
had-
are singles.
What,
The overhead doors are singles
in option 1?
in
They're
both
the
options.
same.
They're just closer together.
Oh, you can put them
Because
that
the
close
door
together?
is keeping with the stem wall footprint, the doors are a little closer together to allow for that side
Oh, I
door.
totally missed that. I didn't realize you could put them that close together.
So there is still a center stanchion there, but it's,
There's a post, there's enough to do that. Okay. All right.
Option 1 okay? Option 1 is okay with you?
That's my only comment. If there are 2 single doors,
Right.
though the proportion's a little odd for the center post, but
Okay. Anybody?
is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00135, Item 1, to construct the garage with the specific findings noted in the staff report and the conditions that complete documentation be submitted to staff in regards to the final style of the garage door and its materials, and to make sure that the materials for the pedestrian door are clearly stated in the application.
Question? Do you have a preference on the garage style door?
On the what?
I'm just going to say, leave it to staff for what we think is a more modest style,
More modest, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
not a carriage style.
All right,
That's my motion.
on the barn.
Go ahead.
No, top button. There you go.
Sorry.
What?
The wood at the door and the garage door.
As long as that's what's in the guidelines for that
That's in the
neighborhood.
guidelines, yeah.
I believe it is.
Well, it's different on different neighborhoods. As long as it's for that neighborhood, yes, it would be wood.
Yes.
Putnam's wood, correct? Wood garage door? Never can remember.
We have to check for the
Okay.
certain conditions, but we could say that it's a material that meets the criteria. Yeah. for
Correct,
door-
okay. All right.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, been moved by, Mary Jo Meacham, a second by Taylor Fudge. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, been approved with conditions.
Much obliged. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for revising that. Next.
HPCA 19-138 at 604 Northwest 19th, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Scott Martin, Two Doors Realty, for Joel Olympic for certificate of appropriateness to 1, demolish garage, Elective, and 2, install parking pad, Elective.
Okay, it looks like the applicant is present.
And this is the first time for this application to be before the commission. Staff did recommend approval of the demolition of the garage. I believe we could tell from Sanborns and such that it was likely not the original garage, and looks to be in pretty poor condition and possibly altered and such over time. The main concern with this application is that they've proposed a parking pad that is gravel, which, aside from the HP guidelines, the municipal code does not allow for gravel as a parking surface. So,
Okay, if you're the applicants, could you state your name and sign in, please?
Yeah, I'm Scott Martin. I am not with Two Doors Realty anymore. I'm with Lux Sales and Management.
Okay,
I'm still the property manager for the owner who lives out of state.
all right.
Ron Bradford, RE Bradford Construction, contractor.
Okay. The owner is from Denver, okay. All right, are you aware of the code restriction on parking?
Well, the gravel was actually just a suggestion. I thought as what we proposed was concrete.
Oh, okay.
Angela had said that gravel wouldn't fly, not to waste time. So we proposed concrete. Well, if gravel would, there's a lot of gravel parking pads on that street, but I'm sure they've done it without your blessing.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah. So I proposed it to do a concrete pad with an apron and curbs.
Stop snitching on the neighbors.
Right.
Okay, so you're proposing a concrete pad where the existing garage is. Is it still there? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, I've got kind of the best drawing that I was capable to do on one of the pictures.
There's
Sorry, what?
alley access to this pad?
It's that one
Access from the
type
alley?
drawing like this. Come across, I'm sure.
Okay.
So what we were proposing was a 5-foot concrete approach with a 6-inch concrete pad with screening below, just like city requirements, and then coming off that with a 20 by 20 parking pad with 4-inch concrete and thickened edges, and then surrounded by kind of a split rail fence.
Oh, well, that's a lot more than, seems like we need information on all that, dimensions
And then change right to concrete.
and fence.
I think that could either be approved with the condition that a revised site plan be submitted to staff showing concrete and showing the configuration. I think that's probably the easiest route.
I'm in agreement. I think that we need a complete site plan.
I submitted one. Okay. Not a complete one.
Okay, is it,
That's page 11 of 18, I think.
Yeah, it's really hard to read.
right, but it's not the entire site.
Right.
I mean, you have the,
One drawn on a complete plot plan.
well, even the one that you could even, I mean, I would think you could even use the one that is included with the mortgage inspection report.
Right.
If you use that one and then blew it up and put measurements on it,
Okay.
would that,
Yeah.
just so that we could see the whole lot.
Right.
But,
Now, you
Right.
have your Sanborn maps on page 4 of 18,
Okay.
and you could utilize that as well.
So just out of curiosity on this one, the reason why we're reviewing it is because it was gravel, but if it were a paved surface with a fence that matches the guidelines, would that be administratively approvable? No?
oh,
Or,
can you approve parking pads?
So paving in backyards when it's not visible from the street, when it's something like a patio, actually doesn't require review at all. This does have to be reviewed because they're putting in an approach. They're coming in from the alley, which is still a open alley and it's a public right-of-way, so that triggers a requirement for a permit. But if it's not visible from the street, if the fence meets the guidelines, if the materials meet the guidelines, then we could potentially administratively approve something like that.
Okay.
so potentially if we approve the pad and the approach, and they came back to you guys in the meantime with a fence that met the guidelines, then,
Right, we can't take action on a fence because it wasn't on the notice
Right.
of the agenda. But that's something we can.
so unless they did
administratively
something that wasn't in the guidelines, they could go ahead and do that.
Yep.
But we also need them to submit a full site plan with dimensions, showing exactly what they want.
So if we continue it and they, in the interim between now and the next meeting, they meet all those requirements
Right.
to your satisfaction, you can just approve it and it doesn't come back, right?
Right, yeah.
That's what I would prefer
Yeah,
to do.
let's do that. Sounds good.
So the
we
commission's
just
going
submit
to
that to-
continue this to a future meeting date, but between now and that next meeting, we'll work with you and get it administratively approved by staff. And you won't have to come back to it.
The only thing we do have to approve is the demolition.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. So is that, in the meantime, we could move forward with demolition? I wasn't aware that was approved.
Yeah, we're going to probably make an approval for demolition right now.
I would make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00138, Item 1, to demolish the garage with the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Mary Jo Meacham and seconded by Linda
Schultz.
Blank Schultz. I want to say Stevens for some reason.
Ms. Schultz.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. The demolition of the garage has been approved.
And then we probably want to continue the parking pad to the February 5th meeting so that we have time to work on that with them and not have to put it back on a meeting agenda before we've gotten
Right.
an approval.
I make a motion to continue HPCA 19-00138, Item 1, to the February 5th meeting.
Is there a second? Nope.
It's item 2.
Okay, it's moved by Joe Meacham, I second. I think that Taylor Fudge seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, item 2 is continued to February.
Just to be clear, we can demo it and then turn everything in for the
After you get your
concrete and the fence.
CA and building permit, or demolition permit.
Right. But we have y'all's approval on the demolition part.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, next.
HPCA 19-146 at 2109 North Lee, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Jackie Morris for certificate of appropriateness to one split lot, Elective.
Hi, I'm Jackie Morris, 201 Northwest 19th, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73103.
201 Northwest 19.
This is a property that previously had a second dwelling at the rear of the lot facing the side street. That house was demolished within the recent past. We've got photos of the house that was there previously, and the applicant has requested to split the lot so that that lot could be sold off and potentially another structure built where that house was historically.
Do we have photos in our presentation?
I believe so.
Of
That's it.
what?
The old house.
My question is, do we have a drawing? Because we have 3 drawings, and they all have properties on both lots.
Why do we think?
That's very confusing, because there is not a house on the lot right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, that little house was demoed, I think, in 2011.
I would just like to have a drawing for the application, which is a house with a lot that doesn't have a house on it.
A site plan showing the existing
Right.
condition.
Existing condition, because it's confusing. I'm like, are you proposing to do, anyway, if you're proposing to do the split lot that now is vacant, I would ask that you have a drawing that does not have another house on it, just so it's clear.
There's a site plan that has no drawing on for the house, shows the existing drawing.
Okay?
Well, it has the outline.
I'm not seeing that.
Where are those other pictures? Can we click through those?
I mean, these are the ones I have. Is there another one? If there's another one and staff has, oh, there's not another one.
Looks like there's one that says they've marked not present on the one
Right.
that's not there.
What happened originally, what we did when we bought the property, there was that house on it, and we redid the front house, and so we came back in and proposed to do another 2-story, 2 apartments there. And so Sam did the drawings for that, showing that that was going to be a 2-story apartment, and we didn't ever do that. It was approved, but we never did it. And so the lot's just been sitting there.
Right.
So
It's fine, I'm not against the application. I just want a drawing included with the application that makes it clear that what we're approving doesn't have a property on it today. That's all.
Shows the way it is, actually.
Right, because we don't have a drawing that shows the existing condition.
And then we've
There's a
got 3
picture.
different versions of the site
A
plan.
drawing.
Okay.
My understanding was that there were perhaps going to be some minor revisions to the site plan anyway because of some easements and things like that that needed to be shown. Is that accurate?
Okay, well, I would ask that, isn't there something required by the city other than HP?
I've already dealt with the city on this.
Okay.
I've already dealt with
Did you hand in a
zoning.
drawing?
They've dealt, I mean, the things that I've provided to them are the exact same things I've provided to HP. I mean, I didn't realize that there was going to be an issue. It's a picture, there's no house there. Hasn't been one there for like 6 years, 7 years.
Okay,
So
I'm not saying it's an
zoning-
issue.
I mean, I just didn't,
I'm just saying that when I read the application, it's confusing, and for historical reasons, I think today I would like to approve something that shows the existing condition. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't
is
have
the
to.
picture, I mean, I know
No.
you want a drawing. I understand
No.
that, but if the drawing, if you've got a site plan, that it's just the
I'll just say
outline of
this.
the proposed house.
We can even approve it with the condition that you turn one into staff.
Okay, that's fine. I can do
But
that.
I'm just saying that it needs to be part of the application.
Yeah.
When you say drawing, you mean the site plan?
A site plan
We just
that
want the
shows.
site plan to accurately show
I mean, you can
what's
take
there
white
what's
out
not
and white
there.
out the deal and turn it
Yeah.
back in.
Yeah.
But we need that. As part of the
It
application.
shows the existing conditions with the
Okay.
proposed lot lines on it.
Right.
Dimension, clearly, that's what we want.
Because it's for your benefit, because if something happens in the future, if you don't build it and then somebody comes back and then they use this documentation, we just want it to be extremely clear exactly what has happened, what was there, so that that's all recorded and then they don't have a problem building something or something like that.
That's
So-
fine. I can certainly
That's
provide
all.
that to
Yeah.
Angela.
I'm not even clear where the proposed lot split is.
Hey, well, exactly. I was going to say the simplest thing you could do maybe is just take a survey of the property and just draw a
already-
line where you want to split it.
Yeah.
This is already done.
That it just needs to be turned in as part of the application.
Yeah, she has it. She has the lot, how the lot's split. She has all of the legal descriptions. I've dealt with the city on this, so we have all of that. Problem is that it took a long time to work with the city on this to get get everything done. So
I'm
what I had to
surprised.
Surprise, surprise. So what I had to do is I had to then send it to the title company. And then they're not super quick. And so once I sent it to the title company, they didn't get back to me with any concerns or anything. I kept
Okay, may-
asking them.
Maybe you've already submitted, maybe it exists, we just want to have it sure the
Needs to be
staff.
part of our
Yeah,
application.
I think it can be a condition of approval, and I
Yeah.
think we're all on the same page of what we need.
Sure,
Well,
Okay.
it's not a problem.
Unless anybody has a question on
I
the
do.
lot split.
and it's just, mostly is to clarify it, and that is, what's the dimension on the front of that line? I mean, you're saying that whatever's built on it is going to be oriented toward Lee?
There's nothing proposed to be built on it. It's just a lot split. I'm selling the property,
They're not proposing anything.
not
built right
proposing
now.
anything. It's just to split the lot. They'll have to come back to you and go through all of
I
the...
understand the
that, but-
process, yeah.
But
It's
there's
just a
nothing...
it's kind of narrow.
Well, it's the same...
Historically,
I mean, I'm not going to go back and adjudicate that, but when I looked at that lot and drove that street, there just aren't any houses oriented toward that street.
so historically, there was, if you look at the last page of your staff report.
Is that a house? I mean, is that a
Yep.
full house?
It was
Okay.
a little house.
This one?
And it faced Lee. It faced, I'm going to get turned around.
Page 9 of 9.
Faces east.
Yep, it faced east onto Lee. And I think it's on the Sanborn maps and all that good stuff. So, if someone were to come in and meet with staff to talk about building a house back on that lot, this would be the first thing we would show them.
But this was
is how
part
it was.
of the other house, so it wasn't a separate...
It wasn't a separate lot. It
Never
was,
has been.
like we have lots of corner properties in Mester Park and Heritage Hills East, and even some. I don't think too many in Heritage Hills, and in Paseo that have a house facing the cross street and then another house facing the side street in this configuration. So it was that kind of condition.
Yeah, I feel like to be honest, I feel like I see these all the time, historically, where you have corner house and then, kind of a house mid-block facing the north.
But they're on two separate lots.
No, not necessarily. Even in some of the plats, it addresses allowing for a second dwelling at corner lots in the plat restrictions, where it says on corner lots on such and such streets, a secondary
It's the
dwelling
same
can
lot,
be
though.
built. Yeah.
It's not two lots.
Right. They were on one lot. Yeah.
So I don't see why, from
This is real
a
narrow.
physical, from a built environment standpoint, and legally, I don't know why it makes a difference whether it's split lots or one ownership. If you was one owner who owned both of those, then they'd kind of be tied to both buildings. I think it's fair to allow some flexibility, between different structures.
I do too, but I think that sometimes we lose sight of we are responsible for thinking about the character of the whole neighborhood, not just lot by lot. And that's why I was a little concerned about the width of this one. You could almost start splitting every backyard.
Well, but I think historically you see that pretty regularly, that you have a corner lot split in half and you have the house in the corner and a house facing
Well,
the north,
historically,
south.
there was a house there, just architecturally, but they're not proposing building anything right now.
I know.
Just lot split. So
I know.
that'd be
Okay.
something else to consider if and when somebody comes in and wants to build something there.
I guess we'll consider that, someone comes back to build something, we'll consider that.
Yeah, right, we'll have to.
I mean, why would we not clearly know that somebody's going to build a house on that lot? I mean, why would you buy it?
I don't know.
I think that would be the
buyer?
intention.
You have a buyer? She has a buyer.
I'm selling both properties. It's strictly a financial situation with the buyer. And that's what the problem is. He wants both properties. He's buying both properties. He doesn't have any intention of doing anything right now.
Is his
But he
condition-
has to have this property to buy the other property. And frankly, I'm tired of messing with that property.
Is
So
his
I'm
condition
like-
that you split the lot?
I'm sorry?
Is his condition that you split the lot?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right,
So it's a financial thing.
okay.
Well, I would make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00146. Sorry. With the specific findings as noted in the staff report. That's it. Oh, and with the condition that a site plan be submitted with the appropriate distance and showing the existing
Dimensions.
dimensions.
I can have that this afternoon, too.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Joe Meacham, second by Taylor Fudge. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, been approved.
Thank you.
And I'm going to have to,
HPCA 19-147 at 1533 Northwest 36th Street, Putnam Heights, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application by Alan Brown for Susan Shaw McCalmont Trust for certificate of appropriateness to 1, demolish rear deck, driveway, and pad, elective; 2, construct back porch, elective; 3, construct garage, studio, elective; 4, construct driveway, patio, and swimming pool, elective; and 5, construct terrace, elective; 6, construct railing, elective.
All right,
Hello.
applicant here.
Alan Brown, 215 Northwest 32nd Street, Oklahoma City. Any questions?
So this is the first time we've heard this case, I believe?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is one that, we've got some photos of the garage from previous reviews, but the garage is no longer extant. So it has previously been demolished.
So what is the final square footage of the garage
It's on here.
and studio? So garage and studio.
Where is that?
It is 864 square feet.
Oh, okay, I see it on page 7. So is that larger number than a percentage of the lot? Is that how?
Yes, so 5% of the lot would be 720 square feet. And then it obviously exceeds 450 square feet. We
Yeah.
did look at the Sanborn map, which does show a larger than average garage at the site.
With a dwelling unit.
Yes, it was a garage with attached dwelling.
So we're proposing a single-car garage with a studio.
So is it similar in size to that original then?
It's hard to say.
Looking at the Sanborn, we felt like it looked like the historic garage was nearly the width of the house, which is about what the proposed garage is. The proposed garage is probably a little bit deeper, but not significantly so. And, you know, our garages all are deeper now, accommodating modern vehicles.
If you look at page 45 of 57, these are, I found out, photographs from code enforcement. It was very wide. It was
That's pretty big.
Two-bay garage with an apartment on the side. And then if you look at page 49 and 57, it was also pretty deep. Shows the window on the back or side. So it was a pretty large structure. And we're going to go back with a one-bay garage, so
So
one-car garage. I think the garage was gone by the time the owner, acquired the house.
It looks like you can kind of see from the existing driveway and pad. It's a pretty wide garage there as well.
and it doesn't look like staff has questions or conditions under specific findings? No? I mean, you had a continuance.
It didn't seem like you had a continuance request on construct garage.
Yeah, the main things that we identified are that obviously the roof form on the east end of the garage doesn't match the historic garage. That's not going to be visible from the public right-of-way at all. If you look at that, there's a front-facing gable over the studio space. And then the material. The applicant has proposed a stucco material, which is in keeping with material on the primary dwelling on the house, whereas we know the historic garage had wood siding. So those were the two things that, when we look at garages, when we talk about approximating the historic garages, the things we look at are the siding material, the roof form, the overall massing. So that's why we had recommended a continuance.
We still think the garage is secondary to the main dwelling, and there isn't any siding anywhere else on the house, so we felt stucco was more appropriate.
I agree.
I will say the roof line, you've maintained kind of the more typical roof line, kind of in the visual portion of the garage, something that you would see from the street. But then where you have the gable, I think that'd probably be hidden by the house if you were street side.
Okay.
Anyone have any comments on the rest of the items in this? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00147, items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, with the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report.
Do we have a second?
Except for 3, which recommends a continuance.
Oh, well, with the specific to approve item 3. Okay, to approve items 1, 2, 4, and 5 with the specific findings, and to approve item 3 with the specific findings noted by the staff. They're not really, there's really, none of those findings still, they're still true.
Okay. So approve all items with the specific findings.
Yes, it's my motion.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Mary Jo makes a motion. Taylor seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Number 6, HPCA 19-152 at 322 Northwest 27th Street, Jefferson Park, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application by David and Pam Bigham for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct garage, elective, and 2, split lot, elective.
I'm David Bigham, 322 Northwest 27th, the property owner and applicant. Glad to answer any questions you have.
And staff, so this is another lot split as well as a proposal to construct a garage where a garage existed historically, very similar to the application that we just saw for a lot split, where you have 2 dwellings on one lot, one facing the side street, one facing the cross street. Historically, there was a garage between the 2 structures that they'd like to reconstruct or put a garage back in that approximate location, and they'd like to split the lot so that those 2 properties can be under separate ownership. Staff, because of the historic condition that obviously was there with the multiple structures, staff had recommended approval, and with the only condition being to address garage door design and materials.
Yes, we originally specified a metal garage door, which is allowed in Jefferson Park neighborhood, but staff suggested that a wooden garage door be more appropriate, as this is pretty close to the street, and we're happy to make that change.
Thank you. So the garage is going to be right where the pickup is. I looked at all this.
Correct. Site plan?
Page 12. Oh. I think page 12 has a pretty decent kind of see where everything's at. Looks like a survey, maybe.
Which page?
12 of 23.
12 of 23. 12?
12 of 23. Do we have different packets?
I'm missing some pages. Yeah, I'm missing that.
When you do a lot split, does the city require that you survey the lot and turn in that survey?
I don't know.
I think if you're only splitting it, because we split a lot for a client a while back, I think if you do under 3, it's pretty simple. It's a form you fill out, but you have to get a new legal description drafted.
Okay.
So I think you have to get that done by either a surveyor or something. I don't think you have to get it surveyed per se, but you have to get the legal description drafted, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
You'd have to have a survey to do that, right?
Yeah.
And you have to have a skin survey to know what the legal description is.
It's kind of the same comment. It would really like to have a site plan that shows dimensionally where the split goes.
It's there. It is perhaps came through a bit light. This page in your packet, there's a little bit of a yellow line
Which page?
5
that
of
shows
23.
the proposed split.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
60 feet from the east. Is that right?
Correct.
And 80 feet. All right. Well,
And if you reference, well,
Better
we don't have a straight-on photograph, but that's 10 feet from the existing two-story yellow house.
Right.
And yellow brick house. And there's a stem wall there, so it's a logical spot. There's a fence there even, so it's a logical spot for that. Yeah,
So did-
right about behind that trash can.
So, I'm sorry, did you have a survey? No.
We have not had a survey
Are
yet.
you going to have a survey?
It sounds like it's required, so I'm going to go with yes.
Okay. I'm just, I just have a concern for us later on garages, driveways,
Yeah, me too.
building things, is that, that we can go back to our application and know that the line was drawn there and not have a garage built, and now we've got 1 foot of the garage in the other person's property or whatever. I mean, I don't know what the city requires, but for us in these tight conditions, it would seem like we need something very specific.
So
I would want
something
one if
more-
I was buying the property, or selling it. I'd like to know what I got to keep and what I was selling.
Well, there is a survey on page 12 that shows it, just doesn't show that lot split where it goes dimensionally, but it is a survey from, looks like 2010.
That's kind of what I was referencing. It looked like a survey, has a...
It's like a loan survey, just a boundary survey,
Right.
but, it's
Not
legal.
as
boundary.
It's legal.
detailed
It's-
maybe as a-
It's signed by a surveyor.
Right, but it's not showing, they didn't survey this.
No, no. But you could mark it on there and put a dimension on it.
Shape-wise, it's pretty straightforward, exactly 60 feet from the one end and 80 from the other, but
Actually, that's
So
a good
it's
question, though,
pretty
because I don't know if
simple
a
design.
surveyor would mark a split,
They wouldn't do that?
because
They
it's
just
not
survey what's
existing.
there.
Right. So you always have to kind of draw in
Right.
the potential split,
But
then
you could-
write the legal description.
But you could submit it as a site plan.
Right.
I just don't know what the city requires for a lot split. Apparently not much.
Doesn't it then when we have a lot split, then doesn't that also define where people can build as far as from the, edge of the lot and
Yes.
so forth?
I know the city will make them show where things like utilities and easements and that sort of thing fall. So I don't know exactly what city requirements are for lot splits, but I think anything that they make a property owner do for the lot split, we're going to make sure we have comparable documentation
Right.
in the CA, even if that's, a condition of the approval or something that has to come back through as a revision.
I think
But like for a garage, then is there a distance from the new boundary to the garage?
The
Yeah,
way I
any
understand
of
it
those
with,
kind of setback requirements that are X number of feet off the property line are going to apply to the new.
Yeah, it's just like a property
lines.
line. It is a property line.
Right,
so-
we're being asked to approve to construct the garage, and we're showing it.
Good point.
where it's at right
Well,
now.
they do, I'm not sure if they do this citywide, but in HP, when we approve a garage to be constructed back in the location of a historic garage, they will issue building permits for that, even when it is right on or very close to the property line, but they have to fire rate
But this is,
the wall on the...
I understand that, but this really isn't the historic property line.
No.
Or you're saying
I mean, it's the historic
lot split.
location,
Yeah.
but
Historically, it wasn't right on the property.
historically, it wasn't on a property line.
So I guess, with HP, it's kind of a special case because we've, again, with some of my clients, we've done lot splits like this, and it's generally in conjunction with a SPUD, a simplified planned unit development, in which case we write the new boundary surveys. A lot of the time, we'll do like a zero lot line if, for example, we're going to have one element on the property line, but we'd still have to comply with the building development services. So, if it was closer than 5 feet, you'd have to fire rate things like that. So it still has to be approved by them, but as I understand it with HP, it's kind of, the configuration's kind of whatever we approve kind of takes precedent over, like if generally R1, if there's normally like a 5-yard setback from a side yard.
My feeling is that are you going to do a SPUD?
No.
What's the city say you have to do to approve a lot split? Have they told you?
No.
I don't think they need a SPUD
But-
here because anything that we would approve as far as building configuration on this lot, because it's HP, takes precedence over. If, for example, I had a garage that I got approved here maybe a year ago, and it was closer to the property line than what normal city code or city ordinance would allow, but because it was HP, kind of what we had decided was appropriate historically, kind of took precedence unless there's a fire code issue or a building development.
I think
I guess
normally-
my point is there's a minimum lot size. We just talked about this earlier. How do you get this approved? Do you get a variance? How does it work? You're going to be below the minimum lot size.
Right.
I just wonder how that works for the city. But
I did speak with John about that previously. Minimum lot sizes do apply. What will be required is the request for a variance.
Okay, that's what we talked. I would like to see, that's not out of our venue, but I would like to see a site plan that shows the boundary, the structures, the new lot line, and the garage shown with setbacks, so we could look at it, see if we think it's appropriate. Right now, it looks a little vague to me. What do you
Now,
guys?
if I'm correct, though, they're just replacing the historical garage, correct?
Well,
Or-
on the drawing, does the garage come out further than the properties?
It does, and that comes out 3 feet forward, and that's where the original historic garage was.
Is there
So
the
we're-
foundation still there and everything?
It is, yes.
Are you going to build on top of the foundation?
No, I think it'll need a more modern stone wall, that sort of thing around there.
It looks like the historic was a three-bay garage.
Well, the Sanborn maps describe it, but that's about all we have. The structure's not been there for a long time, and it describes the type of structure, but it wouldn't be a 3-bay because it wouldn't be big enough for 3-bay.
That's not the historic garage, Mr. Brown.
Oh, it isn't? Okay.
No, that's an example.
It's what?
Example
It's an
of other
example.
Oh, example,
properties.
okay. All right, that's what confused me, sorry.
Yep. So the site plan did come out a little bit light, but if you can refer to that, you see the yellow line, that's representing the proposed lots, property line, lot split, and the garage proposed is within 2 feet of that property line, so you may as well just say it's on, and this is the one I'm referring to. I know it didn't come through super dark in all the photocopies, but that's the garage sitting right there. You see it's 3 feet forward. Again, that's historically where it was, so we're just proposing keeping that the same.
How far is it from the new lot line, new property line?
It's within a few feet.
A few feet?
And so
that
I
would be
fully
my
expect to
question.
fire rate that wall.
This is where I see the problem. I mean, we're only talking about 60 feet, and we're describing it. It's just a couple of feet. I mean,
Well, I'm just saying,
that doesn't seem, and so one picture you show the yellow line, it looks almost like it's on the side of the garage, but then when you look on page 12, there's a couple of feet, I don't know what, between there. So
I'd like to have an accurate site
I
plan.
feel like that we need accurate site plans for,
Well, okay. If it were on the property line, though, would that change anything? If we showed the garage on the
if
property
that's
line?
allowed, I don't think, I think some of those questions are not, we can't approve. You'd have to ask the other appropriate.
Well, just like the previous case, we just want to have an accurate site plan
Yes.
for the record.
Because
What you're
when we,
proposing.
I mean, we have weird things that come up, and they usually involve garages and driveways and stuff, and so I just feel like that it's such a tight situation that in the future, we would perhaps need to know the exact dimension.
Okay, I guess I would just restate, if 60 feet, that's where the stem wall is, that's where the existing fence is, that's where I propose the new property line be, and I propose the garage be on that property line. So, I mean,
you are
that's
proposing
what
to be
we've
right on the
drawn.
property line.
Because I just thought you said a couple of feet.
You said a couple of feet, but you're proposing it be right on the property line now.
It's going to be within 2 feet.
And
So I would just say,
And from staff, it sounds like that you're going to need to have that approved or have a variance to actually get approval for that. So there is a chance that, I mean, if you have to get a variance, I mean, it sounds like you would probably get one, but I don't know. I would just like a,
I just saw it
there's two
as
things I would like, that I think needs to happen is an accurate one now, and if for any reason, when you get your variance or you get your building permit and they require you to do something different, that you must bring that difference back to, and make sure that either staff can approve it or it would have to come before us.
Okay. I'd be fine with that stipulation, that we provide you a more, detailed site plan, and if something else is required from
Readable.
city planning, and that changes that, we'll certainly come back and reissue that.
Okay.
So are you saying?
Do we need to
continuing?
continue, or
Yes.
do we need to, for staff to
Yes.
approve?
I would personally propose that it get approved with that stipulation so we can keep things moving forward.
Because there's really two steps, is one, accurate as of what you're approving today, and two, the final decision based on the variance. Those are two
Agreed.
different things.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, when they get, so what they'll do next is take their CA to get the lot split from subdivision and zoning. And if subdivision and zoning says that anything about the lot split has to change, then that's going to automatically get routed back to us, either for an administrative amendment, or if it's a significant enough change, it'll come back to the commission. Then, kind of along the same path, when they go to get a building permit for the garage, if anything about that has to change, if it's too close to the property line, if they say they need to do something different about that, those all building permits come to HP staff for us to sign off that it matches the CA. And if something there needs to change, then again, it'll get routed back through for either an amendment by staff or consideration by the commission. So I think if we have a clear, a clear readable site plan that accurately shows the dimensions and things as have been discussed here, that's enough for them to move forward. And then if anything comes up along the review process, it'll automatically come back to us.
I'll go with that. There's not a floor plan for the garage either.
No. And is it my understanding that
Just the outside dimension of 20 by 22 and a half, which makes it exactly 450 square feet.
22 and a half by 20, that's correct.
that the city will approve it based on our approval? I mean, they'll just sort of suspend disbelief and do it on ours? I mean, because you're talking about things being routed back and...
When it's for building code things and, walls having to be fire rated, things having to be a certain distance from other adjacent structures, they don't overlook that for us. Setbacks that are stipulated by zoning, they just leave it up to if the HP Commission's approved it, then it's approved.
So we need to be clear that if we approve it today, that means we've approved it all the way through, because city will take our approval on that, on where it's positioned.
Well, even if we
They're not
approve
gonna
it, it still has
throw
to
that
meet
back.
zoning and code requirements.
Right, I'm not
Not
so
in terms of
concerned as to where it
setbacks.
ends
Yes, it
up.
does.
If it ends up, if they want it on the property line and that's approved, that's okay. If it ends up they have to be 2 feet off or 5 feet off, I mean, that's okay too.
Right.
I don't have a problem with the location. I just want us to all know the location. That's all.
So would it be enough to make condition that they submit a revised site plan that's accurate enough for staff, and if you feel it's not accurate, then I guess we can discuss it.
I think it would.
What happens, I'm just curious, Katie, what if we approve something, that other project, and it goes through the process and building code, zoning, and they change something? Does it come back to you to review the change from what was approved?
Yeah, like when they go to get their permit?
Yeah.
Yep, when they go to get any building permits, the plan review staff bring those to us, and either Angela or I sit down and look through it. Applicants have to, or property owners have to have all the pages of their certificate of appropriateness attached with their building permit application, and any other, sometimes they have additional drawings that are required for the permit, their floor plan, electrical, things like that, that aren't in our CA. But we compare everything that they've submitted to make sure that all their site plans, floor plans match what was in the CA. And if something has changed, then we will go back to the applicant and tell them that they need to either revise their building permit application so it matches our CA, or that they need to apply for a revision to the CA to
Okay,
change.
so there you are. That's kind of standard practice then. So,
Yep. So we'll see it
Okay.
at future steps along the way.
okay. Does that help?
I mean, it is where the garage was, which is a kind of odd place, but
It is kind of an odd placement, but that's just
Yeah.
historically how they did it. They built the one on the corner first. 10 years later, after the war, they built another house and put a garage in between.
because I could.
I make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00152, items 1 and 2. Let's see. With the condition for item 2 on splitting the lot, that a accurate site plan be submitted to staff, and for item 1, that a floor plan for the garage be submitted with the final garage door design and materials. I think that's...
Before approval, okay? Is there a 2nd?
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved by Joe Meach and seconded by Klaus Raman Phillip. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you're approved with conditions. All right.
HPCA 19-153 at 609 Northwest 38th Street, Crown Heights, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application by Andrew Thomas, architect, for Allison Leffler for a certificate of appropriateness to 1 Construct Addition, Elective.
Okay,
My name's Andrew Thomas. I live at 1704 Dorchester Drive.
okay. All right. I'll let the architect make the first comment.
Well,
You turn your microphone on, Linda.
I'd agree with that. I kind of looked at this initially, and I'm all for renovations, but to me, this was a pretty significant change. You've got that big fireplace that I thought was a pretty defining feature, and that the room on the side with the balcony. Yeah, I don't know. I think an addition more towards the back, where you kind of maintain the approach, or the facade facing the street, would be preferable, in my opinion. I don't know how my other fellow commissioners feel.
I kind of feel the same way. It doesn't differentiate between the historic and the new very well. It might be able to be done by lowering the roof line or something, changing the roof line, but I think the historic, symmetrical, Georgian style, federal style, whatever you call it, it needs to be more maintained. The proposal looks like very boxy and doesn't differentiate.
I mean, our guidelines are pretty clear on additions shall not be visible from the front.
Well, there we go. Heck with all the architectural comments.
I mean, that's what it says.
It does, you're right.
That's what it says, but what's your, feel free to comment.
Well, no, I agree.
Thank you.
Looking at the specific findings and, working with Angela about it, I think we could differentiate the addition a lot more. That's not really the thing. I mean, we've got, more important things, items 1 through 3 with the frontage and being able to see it from the front and all that. I mean, I guess my whole point today was whether or not there's a path towards being able to get this approved in any way. Should we try to continue this or just close the book on it? Because this was, and just so you know, the client, those bedrooms that are up there overlooking that balcony, it is a functional balcony. There's a functional patio door on that bedroom. Her thinking was, of course, let's, this is a door to nowhere. I don't want my kids out here. But if it was a room that they could utilize, let's see if we could do it. So, and she was well aware of the committees in the guidelines. But I thought it was worth an exploration just to see if there was any way to do it. If there is, then, let's discuss it. But if not, I'm not going to.
I think this one, personally, I think this one would be a tough one.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Joe?
It would be a tough one to pursue. I mean, we often have people, we give ideas or suggestions and say, hey, maybe if you went this direction, but I think, personally, I don't know where you could go with this one.
Right, and when I told her I didn't think it was going to work, she said, well, I know somebody down the street or another block that did one that was on the front. And I said, well.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah, well, and I was like, well, I don't know. I'd like to know what the circumstances were, what actually happened. But so there again, it's.
Well, there are additions similar to this in that neighborhood, I think, and so I think people think, well, it happened, but hopefully they haven't happened since the guidelines were. In. But there are kind of numerous, changes to the side porches and things like that. So I can understand how somebody could think maybe it was possible.
And that's the drawback to buying a historic house sometimes. I mean, it is a very distinct house, and like Alan mentioned, the main body of the house is very symmetrical, and that room, it all kind of works well right now, I think. So I think it'd be difficult to add on to the side of it and it kind of, relate to what you have now. But again, you could, I think there's options to add on to it if that's the desire. I know here, in this case, you wouldn't have had to really do a whole lot of additional, just kind of add on to the top of it. So a little simpler than pouring new foundation and building 2 stories or a single story on the back or something. But that would still be an option if they really wanted to, do something with the house.
So, instead of continuing, are we going to deny this?
I mean, I think it'd be best for, I would propose that, and people may vote on it.
If we think that, just to save the applicant their $100, if we think they might pursue another configuration for an addition, like a rear addition or something like that, we could continue it to the February 5th meeting, give you all time to look at alternatives and come back.
Yeah, we might as well do that because she might already have plans for that space, and if she wants to add some space, then maybe we want to do that. But I'll be in touch with Angela then and just let her know.
I would make a motion to continue HPCA 19-00153 to the February 5th meeting.
Okay. Moved by Joe Meacham, seconded by Taylor Fudge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, continued. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least.
HPCA 19-155 at 505 Northwest 16th, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Josh Hogsett, Revive, for Ryan Rensselaer for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct addition, Elective, 2, demolish garage, Elective, 3, construct garage, elective, and 4, pave driveway and install gate, elective. I feel like I said construct garage 3 times, but that's it.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Josh Hogshead. I live at 434 Northwest 46th Street, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 73118.
Okay. All right. Comments?
So, can I have some clarification around, in the presentation by the staff, that it's, that there are lots of garages like this? I couldn't find any, and so if there were, is there? I understand the one that you say abuts it, because that's on a lot behind it that has no house.
Right. That lot was, that house was burnt down. I don't know how long ago, but what's existing now is the garage that was original to that house.
And the house next door has undergone a similar kind of pretty large addition.
Yeah.
But it has a small, much
Right,
more.
yeah, no, they didn't extend the garage, but there is on the east side, on the corner lot, the yellow house, on that same one has a 2-story garage.
But it's a historic garage. It's small. That yellow house
I don't believe so, Linda.
It fronts. Because I looked across the street, behind it, and all of the garages were 1 story.
But is there a 2-story garage on a lot that touches this lot?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's been what we've used in the past. If there's a lot touching the proposed lot location, and there's a 2-story garage, then we have approved them. If there are no 2-story garages, I think it's been touching, because we've turned some down because there was not.
Well,
Yes,
we got
it specifically says abutting.
Abutting.
2-story garage at an abutting property, so meaning they share a portion of a property line.
Not adjacent, abutting.
Not
We've been
adjacent,
through this
but
many
abutting.
times.
Or if 2-story garages are predominant on the block. So it can be that there is just one 2-story garage abutting the property and no other 2-story garages in the area, but that one abutting garage, we have taken that to allow for constructing a 2-story garage.
And we have 2 abutting for this one.
2 abutting, 2-story.
2 abutting.
2 of them.
Are you done?
Well, I don't know.
Okay, well, my question after that would be the square footage
Of the garage,
of the addition.
it should be
1,036.
It's 1,000 something.
36.
We just looked at that. 1,065 total?
Sorry, it's written on the floor plan I've got here.
In the staff report, it says 1,036.
So we're proposing 330 on the first floor and 735 on the second floor.
That's the addition?
That's the total addition, yeah.
Total addition.
And then the garages.
450 on the...
Do you know how much is left on that lot?
No.
How many square footage?
No.
How much square footage?
Is that what you ask?
How much square footage is left?
There's not much, right?
There's not much there, no.
Pretty small. The existing footprint is how much? The first floor of the existing house.
1,026, according to the...
So it's bigger. The addition is...
I'm sorry, it looks like it's 1,338 at the first floor and then 1,026 at the second floor.
Okay, so 1,338, so it's not quite as bad. So it's way over the, what's our rule?
750?
750 or 50%.
Or 50%. So 50% would be 600 something?
And the combined, there's going to be a lot of building on that lot. Right. So I sort of question the appropriate mass statement too. it's almost going to be really a lot of house and garage on that lot.
I mean, yeah,
so it's hard not to, for me, I mean, we should look at that combined, not as two separate items, because
Well, and it's, the garage, I don't think, it follows the guidelines.
Well, I don't know that you have to just because one abuts it. I mean, if
it says in the guidelines, if there is an abutting two-story garage, then that is how you are allowed to have a two-story garage.
But not of any size and consequence.
Well, I feel like, I mean, maybe
he's made it the smallest in that only the footprint for that is
Step number one, there's a abutting two-story garage, so you can have a two-story garage. Step number two is how big is it?
It's appropriate, right?
And it's appropriate, and the footprint is pretty small. It's
The footprint is 450 square feet.
Yeah, so it meets the guideline for footprint. To me, the problem is the house itself. The addition is too
I agree.
large.
Correct. I was going to say that the garage, I think, is totally fine. As a matter of fact, I love to see, even with the earlier item, garage apartments integrated into garages and things like that. I think that's important for the growth of the city. So, and it's kind of a historical condition. I think a lot of people used to build those in the garages.
As long as it meets the guidelines.
As long as it meets the guidelines, correct, yeah. So, but I agree with the house. I mean, that addition, just from, it almost looks like it's as big as the house itself.
Yeah, it's
1,300 square foot
large.
footprint, and the addition is 1,065.
And that's because the second story of this house is smaller than the first story. And so what we're proposing is bringing out the second story to meet that new line. So that's where the square footage is being added. I think if the first and second story of this existing house were the same size, we'd be adding 600 square feet total.
If you look at page 18, the footprint of the house expanded looks to me overwhelming. Lot size compared to the adjacent houses, so I'm not in favor of that size of addition personally.
Could you confirm on page 19 of 45 on the east elevation, the proposed east elevation, looks like so you're bringing the second floor out to meet the final facade of a first floor addition. So it looks like there's kind of a darker and a lighter drawing there, like a halftone or something.
Sorry, could you say that again?
So just if you're looking at the east elevation of the proposed, it looks like just past the triple windows.
Yeah.
Towards the back, it looks like maybe, I don't know, maybe 2-3 feet past it. That would be the line.
Right. So what's existing is shown halftone, and then the proposed addition is shown with the darker lines. So, yeah.
Architecturally, the west elevation looks a little odd. I don't see how it quite matches the east either, but the roof line. But anyway, I just think it needs to be rethought as far as size.
So did you mention that the corner house, did that one have an addition that was approved? Did I hear that correctly?
It's not the corner house. If you're looking at the house to the left.
Yeah, it's the house to the west had been extended in 2018.
Okay.
And, I mean, it's not shown on this site plan, but its current property, or its current footprint takes up the majority of the lot.
I'd kind of like, I mean, with whatever revisions you provide on the proposed site, I'd kind of like to see an existing site, just so we have an idea.
An existing site plan? It's on here.
Is it?
It's on the first page 13 of 45. There's an existing site plan. And that's indicating those existing.
You know what? I think I might be missing some pages, because my packet jumps from 12 to 18.
Yeah, I'm digging around here also.
Yeah. Oh, you got it.
Here it is.
Okay. Okay.
I would still say that
missing some information here.
the amount of square footage needs to be reconsidered to fit within the guidelines.
Okay.
And
it's out of order.
the guidelines say 50%.
750.
750 square feet
Or,
total? Or
Katie, I'll let you.
So
Greater of.
it's 50% of the footprint of the structure, or 750 square feet, whichever of the two is larger, and that's total square footage of the addition.
Total, okay. So that's both first and second story of the addition.
Yeah.
So 750 would be your
That would be my
yeah.
cutoff, okay.
So you're about 50% higher than that. So I really think that needs to be rethought. Want to continue this? Or approve parts of it?
We can approve the garage and the demolition, correct?
Would you want to go ahead with approve parts of it?
I would assume so, yeah.
Okay. Your motion?
Let me take a look at the items. All right, so we need a separate approval for the demolition. So I'll make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00155, item 2, demolish non-historic garage.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Clauserman Phillips and seconded by Linda Schultz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
She did the second. You know her name?
Oh, it's Ann Zacher. I'm sorry. I was down there. Seconded by Ann Zacher, excuse me. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Demolition's approved.
All right, then I'll make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00155, item 3, construct garage, and item 4, pave driveway and install gate, with the specific findings as noted in the staff report.
Second.
Which one was that? Was it Ann?
Yes.
Okay. You guys, confusing me. Okay, it's a motion been made by Clauserman Phillips, seconded by Ann Zacher. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the items are approved, and now for the addition.
All right, so we'll continue HPCA 19-00155, and can we get a date on that?
So if we can continue it to either January 3rd or February 5th. If we continue it to the 3rd, we need all your new materials by Tuesday.
So I already have all this drawn up in anticipation of your comments today. So January would work for me.
Okay.
I would like to say thank you
Yeah,
for
no
not
problem.
bringing it
Well,
today.
yeah,
Because
okay.
we appreciate that.
I've
We don't
sat
like
down with
last
this
minute.
client multiple times and explained to them these circumstances, and he still wanted me to come here today and present what is in front of you. So,
So what date would, so the January 3rd?
January
meeting?
3rd.
Okay, so continue this item to January 3rd.
Okay. Is there a second?
Make sure on the items, because it's item 1, this is to continue, was item 4?
Oh,
You just,
item 1.
you just approved that.
Yeah. So continue HPCA 19-00155, item 1, to the January 3rd Historic Preservation Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been, I was staring at you this time. It's been moved by Clauserman Phelps and seconded by Ann Zacher. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Item 1 is continued. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Can't wait to see your new scheme. All right. Okay, this goes back here.
On the note of January 3rd, that is a Friday, so I hope everybody has that on your
Oh.
calendar, because our Wednesday meeting would be on New Year's Day, so that one's on a Friday.
What's wrong with that? No. Just kidding.
That's
All
my
right,
birthday
thanks for
also, so.
clarifying that. On to the end of our individual cases. Other business. Neela Craig Clements resolution. Neela is retiring from the commission. And we've all signed her resolution
In
commending her.
anticipation of it passing, so you still have to vote on it.
Oh, that's what we still have to vote on. And Neela's not here to vote on, so everybody has a chance to look at that. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution recognizing Neela Crank Clements for her service on the Historic Preservation Commission.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved by Neela Clauserman Phillips and seconded by Linda Schultz. All in favor? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the resolution is adopted. Thank you for your service. She's out with a flu or something today. Yeah, though she wanted to come, we kind of appreciate
Yes,
that.
she was going to come, and we said, please don't.
We were going to make her sit over there.
Right, I was going to have everyone shift down and make her sit in the corner by herself.
Okay, but we appreciate her. On to communications reports, preservation, or preserve OKC.
So we have the full PowerPoint that we gave to Planning Commission, HP Commission, and City Council. I don't really intend to go through all of that unless somebody wants to see it or someone have questions, but we wanted to take, basically we were going to introduce the plan today, even though all of you have, I think, heard it multiple times at various workshops and meetings and that sort of thing, and then it will come back to you in January for a recommendation. Yeah, we have like no audience, and it's just you guys. Yeah, can I grab that from you? We'll just kind of very quickly go through what it is.
And could you kind of highlight the changes from when we last saw it at the workshop?
Yes. So Plan OKC was adopted in 2015, and one of its many recommendations was to do a standalone citywide historic preservation plan. This is a long-range policy planning document to kind of identify priorities, goals, strategies for decision makers, for things to develop moving forward. It's not a regulatory document. It does not change our ordinance or our guidelines. It doesn't change any existing processes or requirements. It doesn't override any existing council policies or establish new programs, positions, regulations. We are at the point of presenting this to everyone. It's been to a joint meeting of HP Commission, Planning Commission, City Council. We, following that meeting, made some changes. There really weren't a lot of substantive comments out of that. We clarified some language in there about what different tools and maps indicated and different graphics and things like that. People wanted to make sure we're very clear to everyone using the plan. We added some information specifically about the Capital Medical Zone and their Historic Preservation Commission, because that is something that's always a question for people, why that area has its own review bodies. Those were really the bulk of the content-related changes that have been made since then. We've also worked on just cleaning up graphics, formatting, images within the document since that review was held. Over the last month, the plan has been up online for review and on a website where people could go online and submit comments. We got really very few comments. Mostly we got requests for maps and data from the plan that people wanted us to provide, but not any substantive changes that were requested or proposed. It was shared on social media by the city and then by other organizations that helped us push it out. So from here it'll go back to you all in January, and then Planning Commission, and then City Council. Planning Commission will adopt the plan as part of the comprehensive plan. City Council receives the plan officially and then will adopt the official position by resolution that is in the plan, an official position on historic preservation. Just really briefly, I'll go through the outline. The plan starts with an overview of why historic preservation is important to Oklahoma City, issues and opportunities that we have, things that we have, kind of successes and challenges facing us with historic preservation. Chapter 2 is an overview of kind of the history of Oklahoma City and specifically tied to the city's development, and then a summary of historic resources today, things like properties that are on the National Register, historic surveys that have been completed previously. And then the Chapter 3 is the plan itself, which is broken down into 4 big ideas. Let me see if this goes to... We'll get to those in just a second. This is the official position on historic preservation, which kind of boils down the 4 big ideas about valuing historic preservation as being important for the city of Oklahoma City, strengthening public support for historic preservation, leading by example in our stewardship of city-owned historic resources, using existing and new tools to protect historic resources citywide, and using incentives to encourage historic preservation. Again, that overview of why we care about historic preservation looks at preservation's role in creating thriving neighborhoods, a healthy economy, quality of place and placemaking, and environmentally and financially sustainable growth for Oklahoma City. There's lots of data in that section. We just broke down a little bit of the information about specifically historic tax credits and the economic impacts that those have on the city, and then went through the 4 big ideas. So the first big idea is really kind of the public engagement, awareness and outreach, educational component of the plan, different ways to make people aware of and appreciative of our historic resources, our city's history, and historic preservation itself. I'm going to click through these. We have some, in this presentation, we had some kind of definitions of what we mean when we say historic resources, and I think you guys know that. But we had a different audience for this, the first time around. One piece that is woven throughout the plan is a historic resources inventory that we have built in GIS that records all of this data we have about historic resources. This is intended to be a living tool that will be available online for people to find information about properties, ideally or eventually to be able to submit information about properties that they care about so that they can be included in the inventory, to provide information for property owners and for review bodies, decision makers, as they are evaluating things that will impact historic properties. The mouse does not like me. Sorry, guys. I don't usually do this. This goes kind of into the weeds of all of the components, but we'll go on to big idea 2, which is about practicing good stewardship of city-owned and controlled historic resources. The city owns many historic properties, and this one looks at different ways to make sure that we are considering the city, with a capital C, impact on historic properties as we make decisions.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
I mean, is that a change? Do you think that this is something that in the future, when they do work on historic properties, they will look back to the plan and say, we're going to do things different now, or is it like?
So the goal of the plan is, I think it's something where the city has by and large done a nice job with historic properties. I mean, we look at this building that they've done, a really incredible job of restoring. They've done really nice work with Santa Fe Depot and the Civic Center and things like that. But I think it's been because somewhere someone was guiding that decision and it wasn't really a formal policy. So the idea of the plan is to kind of formalize that decision-making process of.
I mean, just so, is it going to be kind of drifting down to like public works and parks?
That's the recommendation of the plan, is that there would be policies and best practices in place for kind of maintenance and repair of city-owned historic properties, that when we're doing work on the Harbor Longmire building, we're going to have some guidance. Yes, parks, structures, things like that. Even. Yeah. Even, I mean, the zoo is full of historic buildings. Yeah. So yeah, it's general kind of maintenance, repair, renovation of properties that we already own. It's kind of decision making when we're acquiring new property, or we're going to go build a senior wellness center or something like that in an area where there are historic resources. And it talks about if we are deciding that we want to no longer own a historic property and we're going to sell it, considering the impact of that and whether we want to ensure that a property is preserved when it changes hands. So those were kind of the 3 big components within that.
So I guess it's not just us, or the plan out here. I mean, it is being moved on to people in charge of departments.
Yep. So our next steps from kind of a work standpoint is that within this kind of big picture plan, the last section is the implementation matrix, and there are all these much more specific policies. So some of those things are kind of just concepts, and other things are, we're going to go write this procedure up and get it through the city manager's office, or we're going to revise this ordinance, or there's kind of direction in there of next steps to get things implemented.
Okay.
So number 3 is the biggest one, with lots and lots of initiatives, that is about using our existing tools and developing new tools to protect historic resources. This talks about our existing design review commissions, committees, process, that we have. It also talks about just regular development review of standard zoning cases and making sure that those consider historic resources. It talks about potential new tools, things like development delay review process, something along the lines of the traditional neighborhood overlay that had been in the works for a while, other kind of zoning, intermediary zoning tools like that to look at historic resources. And then big idea 4 is about developing effective incentives, and it talks about making sure we are prioritizing historic resources when we within existing and new TIF districts. Talks about developing TIF districts that are specifically for historic preservation, which is something we have the ability to do but have not done in the past. Other types of financial incentives, procedural incentives that encourage and facilitate reusing historic resources over demolishing them to replace with something that meets current code. And then something we already are in the practice of doing, but getting properties and districts listed on the National Register so that they can then take advantage of historic tax credits. And this is what we've already kind of gone over. The next steps that'll go through an adoption process, those dates need to be updated, obviously, but that's kind of the very, very short and sweet summary of all of it. I hope you've all had a chance to look at it, whether you came to the joint workshop or not. But does anyone have questions, comments?
I just want to say good job. That's excellent work.
Thank you.
Something we needed, in addition to everything else that you guys do. So.
Oh, definitely, and I want to just comment on the kind of public resource element of it, kind of an interactive. I think I've heard a lot of people really excited about that element, just being able to easily research specific buildings or districts or whatever it is, any kind of historic asset for the city. I think that'll be really valuable.
Yeah, we're excited to get that. We have a lot of information in file cabinets, so it'll be nice to have that out where people can find it.
Okay, no action required on
Nope.
that, just
Nope.
information. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you for that. Nothing, anything from the municipal councilor?
No.
I always ask. Oh, I try to.
Good. Thank you.
We do have a case going to Board of Adjustment tomorrow. It was continued previously, I think because of quorum issues, it was not heard. It's the demolition of a house in Heritage Hills East that the commission denied, and they've appealed, and it goes to Board of Adjustment tomorrow. We've left that off the agenda. And under City Council, yesterday, sorry, all these things happen between when this gets prepared and then when we get to the meeting. The Lyons property, Lester House, was designated a historic landmark at City Council yesterday, so that's complete
All
with
right.
the process.
Another one.
Yep.
Okay, anything else?
No.
All right, next meeting date, the next regular scheduled meeting for the Historic Preservation Commission is January 3rd, 2010 at 2 p.m., as Katie just pointed out, right here, that is a Friday. New applications for this meeting were received December 3rd, 2019. New information on projects continued from today's meeting to the upcoming meeting must be submitted to staff by 4 p.m. Tuesday, December 10th. The next regularly, that's hard to say, scheduled workshop for the Historic Preservation Commission is Wednesday, December 11th, that's next Wednesday, from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. at 420 West Main, Suite 900.
So I wanted to kind of poll if people were going to be available. I know it gets
For the
hard.
workshop?
Yep.
Let me check real quick.
And I can do that via email, too.
I had a conflict, maybe there's a
I got it
symposium
down.
on food security. I think that ULI was hosting. It's roughly the same time I was trying to.
What is? Sorry.
It's the ULI is hosting a kind of like a symposium, as I understand it, on kind of food security and food availability on the northeast side. I think Nikki Nice was going to be there, I think, and Regional Food Bank is. So anyway, I'm involved with the Regional Food Bank a little bit, and I was going to try to make that. So
I'll be there.
Oh, I should be there.
I don't think I can be there.
Okay. So we were thinking about doing kind of a year in review, but looking at some things that places where we frequently find ourselves structuring an approval even though it doesn't meet the letter of the guidelines, and maybe those are guidelines that we need to consider whether or not they're meeting their purpose. And also the flip side of that, places where we find ourselves maybe trying to find a way to not approve something, even though we don't have a guideline that really clearly says it's not appropriate. Pulling up those kinds of cases, examples of those. Does that make sense?
Do you have ideas do you have a list of things that might be changes to the guidelines?
I think things that that we see a lot, one is the two-story garage issue and how those guidelines are written versus how we apply them. I think the size of additions is something that comes up over and over again. We see additions that meet the guideline for size, and everyone feels like they're not compatible. And then we see additions that are larger than what the guidelines allow, and they are compatible. So I think that's an area where we might want to rethink.
We'll talk about this at the workshop, though.
Yeah, how that's written.
Do you think if Neela is feeling better, she could come to the workshop?
Yeah, we can
invite her.
Invite her.
Yeah. Just have one
Yeah.
final moment where we can present her with the resolution.
Yeah.
She what? Oh, she's out of town. Okay.
But we just have, we have to post the agenda 24 hours in advance. Is that right, Paula? So if you have ideas of workshop topics that you'd like to discuss, let me know, and we can just write a really vague agenda and talk about whatever you want.
Don't say that.
Can I, and it may be about the workshop, but the review of the neighborhood committees, has that occurred, or?
So we emailed all of our contacts for all the neighborhoods to try and get something scheduled, and heard back from 2 people. So it's something that we're supposed to do regularly, to meet with neighborhood representatives and talk about their process, talk about our process, but we haven't been able to get something scheduled. It may be something that we need to look at not around the holidays, or just if you all have contacts with neighborhoods.
Well, maybe we should talk about that at the workshop.
Yeah.
Probably not for the workshop, but have you heard anything from the mayor about appointing? No, we're going to have 3 vacancies.
Right. I do not have any updates on commission appointments. So.
Anything we can do about it? Should I try to?
I mean, you all are always welcome to, suggest someone that should be appointed, or to.
There's a lot.
And also on the Board of Appeals, isn't there
We have, yeah, and I think Riverfront Design Review Committee has a lot of.
Do you know who applies, or that it's all secret?
Well, it's not secret.
Not secret,
they don't
but
come. Yeah, they don't come to me. They go to staff in the mayor's
directly.
office, and then usually when they're getting ready to fill a position, they'll send us the applicants that they have, so we can weed out people that don't meet the qualifications. That sort of thing.
Do you make recommendations?
We don't really make a recommendation. We have the most complicated matrix of all of these requirements for professional credentials and where people live and how many people can live in one neighborhood.
All these commissions.
So they usually kind of say, here, tell us who qualifies, and we do that.
I might just get in touch because it's going to be hard to have a quorum.
Yeah.
With 3 vacancies.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that there's been people that have been encouraged to apply.
I know a few I have applied.
I'll just kind of jog and see what he says. Yep. Okay. All right. Any more items from commissioners? Any items from our citizens? There are 2 citizens. Nothing. Okay. That's the case. There being no further business, we are adjourned. Thank you. out of here. Yep.
So,
Like today.
where's he at?